You know, when you're a kid, there's really just a couple of choices when it comes to milk, regular or chocolate. My choice, definitely chocolate. But diversity in the dairy industry is really a big deal. You've got sour cream, cottage cheese, ice cream, of course. And one Oregon dairy family has found that serving the community is critical to their success.
A late afternoon Little League game, an all-American tradition here in Portland, Oregon, and across this country. But these young sluggers aren't competing at a community park or recreation center. They're at one of the area's oldest dairies, in the shadow of a facility that churns out products by the truckload. This is Alpenrose Dairy, a familiar name to Oregonians, but if you're not from around here, you might wonder how a milk processor is home to baseball fields, a quarter midget racetrack, a historic village complete with its own theater, not to mention a velodrome bicycle racing track. For folks from these parts, it all seems quite normal. After all, generations have grown up playing ball here. Carl Cadnaugh is the owner of Alpenrose. His grandfather started the dairy back in 1916.
Grandpa actually had the cows, milked the cows, and delivered as far away as downtown Portland with horse and buggy.
There are not cows here anymore. Alpenrose now gets its milk from area dairy farmers. Besides drinking milk, they churn out everything from ice cream to cottage cheese. Rocky Amick is the manager of the milk plant.
Yeah. What do we got in here?
This is 4% cottage cheese. It's being creamed and dressed.
Wow.
After it's thoroughly blended, we'll go ahead and send it down to the packaging department.
That's a lot of cottage cheese.
It's about 9,000 pounds.
9,000 pounds of cottage cheese.
Yeah.
So let's see, 9,000, $1.50 a pint.
You're probably looking at $15,000.
What is in this? I mean, people say, well, I love cottage cheese, but I'm not gonna lie, I don't know really, I've never really thought about what is cottage cheese.
Actually, it's the curd comes from, of course, milk.
Yeah.
And then we also add cream, salt, and a little bit of stabilizer to kind of thicken it up.
Okay.
And it's blended in. And what you see there is pretty much finished product.
This is 9,000 pounds of cottage cheese. Where's the 9,000 pounds of applesauce that we could mix in with it?
Maybe some cottage cheese and chives.
There's nothing slow about modern dairies. They've got to keep the milk moving and cold so it stays fresh, whether it's being turned into ice cream or cartons of chocolate milk for school kids.
This is the stuff.
This is the stuff. This is the good stuff.
Every kid loves chocolate milk, don't they?
You know it. Some lucky school kids that get to drink this.
So this will go out to schools all around the area.
All around the metropolitan area, yep.
How many of these a day?
80,000 cartons.
80,000 chocolate milk cartons a day.
Yeah.
Let's drink up.
Try it.
We have to be diversified in our industry, and I mean, it can't be just a half a gallon of milk going out the same every day. We've got to look at all of these new avenues that there are and change with the times.
While trying new things inside the milk plant has been a big part of the family's success, the additions outside on the grounds of the dairy have also been important, starting with the baseball field built back in the 1950s.
I played on those ball diamonds, and my sons have played on those ball diamonds, and now I've got some grandkids that are actually playing there, and so it's been out there for 3 full generations. Each individual activity has got a story behind it, and this interview probably isn't long enough, but I mean, for instance, quarter midgets, my uncle loved cars, and so when we were 10 years old, my cousins who are involved with me in the dairy, and myself and my brother Randy, he got cars and got involved in quarter midget racing. Well, he said, let's build one here. So they built one here.
Today, you'll find youngsters testing their driving skills and competing on that quarter midget track.
They never hesitate one bit when it comes to giving back. You know, you never hear a bad thing about them. It's always good stuff, you know, of them stepping forward and taking care of the community that they're in.
And that Olympic-style bicycle velodrome is one of only 20 in the United States. And each year those ball fields are home to the girls softball Little League World Series. And use of all of the facilities is free.
You look at the size of our track and the facilities we have here, to go out and just find a piece of property to do this would be almost impossible. I mean, not as a club that's a nonprofit organization, we couldn't do it. We wouldn't be able to race.
While the attractions can be traced to individual interests and the whims of the Cadnaugh family, they've had a positive impact on the Alpenrose Dairy business.
As kids grow up in the area, they became familiar, they played on our fields and stuff, and they've come back over the generations. And it doesn't hurt to be out in the grocery store and see an Alpenrose milk carton on the deal and say, I remember when I played at Alpenrose, give me one of those. But no, truly, that has come with what's happened, but that was never my dad's or my grandfather's motive at all.
There's no doubt the dairy business can be tough, but Carl Cadnaugh says the secret to their business success is actually pretty simple.
I think it's just a lot to do with the philosophy of our grandparents and my parents, and that's being straight up with people, and it's being good to your employees, and giving back to the community, and keeping a handle on what you're doing too.
And what would Henry Cadnaugh think about the continued success of Alpenrose 3 generations later?
I think Grandpa would be pleased. I really do. I think he'd be proud. Coming up on 100 years. That's a lot of years for a family business.